Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Marine Mondays. My name is Kyle, and I am the biologist here at the Marine Education Center in Harbor Island Park. And today we're going to be talking about a really special species in the harbor here. But first I want to start off by telling you where we are. Does anyone out there remember what kind of water this is? What water we're working with? And for those of you guys that are new, you could answer at home with your friends or family, or you could write in on the comments. They do come in a little slow since we're out in the field. So if you could see the swans behind us. So the water here is the Long Island Sound, and the Long Island Sound is an estuary. It's a big word, but it's a very, very important ecosystem. And that is brackish water. So for those of you guys that are new, brackish water is both salt and fresh water. So here in the harbor, the Mamaroneck Harbor, our freshwater source is the Mamaroneck River, which is right in front of us. You guys can't see it. And then in the back, that's going out into the sound, and then that goes out to our saltwater source, and that is our Atlantic Ocean. So there's a lot of very cool species that come to this ecosystem because it is an estuary, holds a lot of different unique species, but also a lot of species will migrate in. Lots of birds. I think our swans left. But during the winter now, we have a lot of bird species that come in. And we'll be starting up our bird walks at the Marine Education Center if you guys want to learn more about the birds. And a lot of the fish during the winter go out into deeper water, so we won't see a lot of the fish that we see in the warmer months. So today we're going to be talking about a really, really important species to the Long Island Sound and the harbor here. And I just want to turn you guys around. And so we're at low tide right now, so it's low tide. Does anyone see any animals here? See a lot of rocks, right? So there's a really, really important species that lives down here. And for those of you guys that have been with us for a couple of months now, might remember. But if you look really closely, and I'm gonna dig, we have this really special animal. And they're hard to get out. Anybody remember what this one is? And again, you could write in with your friends or family, or just answer at home. So this, a lot of people at home might be saying shell. I'm gonna get a clean one for you. I brought a clean one. So you see these everywhere. And a lot of you at home are gonna say shell, but this is actually an animal. And this is a mussel. So anyone out there, tell me, if you remember, why this animal is so important to the Long Island Sound. It's kind of a hard question, but they do something when they eat, and it's called filter feeding. So filtering is what? A filter gets stuff out of the water, right? Or out of mud if you're filtering mud, but here these guys filter the water. And they take algae, little plankton out of the water and eat it. So they help filter the dirty water. They hold a lot of nitrogen in them. And if you guys remember, if you have too much nitrogen in the water, it causes the plants to grow too big. Too much nitrogen is bad, but they help get that out of the water. So I'm going to take this guy, and I want to show you guys the inside. Let me turn you back around. So, and if you guys come down to the center, starting in the spring, you could do this yourself. A little cold right now, but I'm using a special knife. Open these guys up. So it's low tide right now, so you guys are going to see that they are closed. If you ever see them at low tide, they close up, but at high tide they're open because that's when they filter out that water. They're feeding. So why do you think they close up like that? What do you think eats them? So if you come down, you're going to hear that this shell around their inside, which if you can see, that's their inside, is very soft, but their outside's very hard. Why do you think their outside is very hard? So that helps protect them. So their shell helps protect them. So their inside's very soft, but a lot of animals like to eat this guy. Does anyone out there know what kind of animals here at the Sound like to eat the mussels? And there's one flying around us. So the gulls here, seagulls as you guys know them, a lot of different gull species like to eat them, but also crabs. So we have blue crabs and we have mud crabs. And right now we're not going to find as many crabs right here, but I'll go into crabs later this month. So the shell here helps protect them from a lot of those animals they like to eat. So they like to eat little algae or plankton, but bigger animals like to eat them. Like we talked about 2 weeks ago with that food chain or food web. They're towards the bottom, but they're still very important to the water here. Extremely important. So these guys grow to about 4 inches, some of them a little bigger. This one's about 3 inches. And they have, so there's a lot of different, there's two different species of mussels here in the harbor that you're going to find more commonly. This one's the ribbed mussel, but there's also the blue mussel, and those are the ones out there, if you eat mussels, those are the ones you eat. You don't eat these guys. But let me get the cleaner one. So if you look on the shell, and you can kind of hear, if I go like that, there's ribs. So this is our ribbed mussel, but there's little indents, lines going down it. And these guys can live to over 15 years, but the way you can tell their age is by counting those ribs on their shell, which is pretty cool. Takes a little more time than just counting, but you can count their age. Pretty cool. And then if we're looking at this guy, so again, they have 2 shells, so another big word, they're bivalves, two shells. But we have other animals that live, the mollusks that live in the harbor. This guy, this is a univalve, which means 1 shell. But this is an animal, this type of sea snail, called a whelk. Does anyone out there know what this is? It's a funny looking shell. Again, these are all seashells, but an animal makes these. Like we make our fingernails, they make their shell. So these guys start out tiny. So if you see the tip of this guy, they start out as small as that and then grow around them. Again, just like your nail grows around the soft part of their body. So this is an oyster. A lot of people don't realize we have them. And I'm going to see if I could turn you around and show you an oyster reef right now. A lot of people don't realize that they're in the harbor here. Let's see if I can zoom in. You see that out there? Right there by the white buoy? That's all oysters. So you don't want to eat the oysters in the harbor here, but you can go a little up north and eat those oysters. A lot of the oysters that you eat in restaurants actually come from the Long Island Sound. Up at the top of the Sound by the Race, these are very good. Blue Point oysters. And then we have this other bivalve. Oop, I just broke them. So again, the 2 shells makes them a bivalve. So anyone know what this is out there? This is our clam. So all of these live in the harbor here. But a lot of people don't realize, you could tell if this is a girl or a boy. Mostly during the summer, you're not going to be able to tell right now. And this one's a little dirty from my hands being all dirty. But you could see they have a foot, but they have something called a mantle right around here. And if the mantle's a certain color, you can't tell right now, you could tell if it's a girl or a boy. So if you come in the summer to one of my programs and we talk a lot more about these animals, they don't seem like you'd think they were that important, but they are super important to the Sound. filter out that dirty water for us. But if the mantle here is a certain color, that's how you know it's a girl or a boy. And then you saw how hard it was to get them out of the ground there, because they live in the ground here. They live in large numbers. But if you look at that, they have something called a Bissell Thread, and those help attach them to the rocks in the plants here. And they're very helpful in making the sediment livable for other creatures. So I'm just gonna go back over. So I'm gonna switch you guys over. So again, if you come down here with me over the summer, and you should only come down here with someone like me, so I have a special permit. There's actually a lot of animals that live down here. And under the rocks, there's crabs. You'll find these holes here. And there's soft-shelled clams, which there's a shell right here, that live all under here. But then, and then again our oysters out there. But then we have our mussels, which you can't see, but if you look really closely right here, they're all right here. And a very important to the water, but also a very important food source to what? The crabs and the birds. We have a lot of birds that like to eat them. And it's fun to watch the gulls get them out of the mud here, pick them up and drop them so they open up. So these again are not just seashells. The animal does make the shell, and we do have blue mussels, which you would eat. Let's see if you can. And then our ribbed mussel, which is the one we're talking about today. And does anyone out there remember how old about these get to? Some can get up to or over 15 years old. They grow to about 4 inches. And again, big important to our estuary here, our Long Island Sound. So they help filter the water. So I'm going to switch you back around. And I want to say thank you to everyone for coming to Marine Mondays. And we'll be here all month with the Westchester Children's Museum. And again, I'm Kyle. I'm the biologist at the Marine Education Center in Harbor Island Park in Mamaroneck. And you could come down. I'm open Monday through Friday, 9 until 4, and you can come check out the tanks and see some of the stuff that we have to offer. And hopefully we could start our programs up soon and you guys can join us. But thanks for joining me, and I will see you guys next Monday. All right.